Wait, what? Okay, what? Hold on, I need to read this. What happened? Played nothing, learned to pay money, would never ruin anything. Untrue, JJ. Untrue. What is Brelix even talking about? What money was spent on Brelix? What? I'm confused. Get mlemmed. Yeah, Vimmer. Words. We're doing a reading stream today. Just like we tried last time and it didn't work, but it might work this time. Alright, I guess we'll wait for Death's Head to show up. Wait, why would you buy Brelix nothing? Brelix deserves things. Brelix is great. Luminaria music is also great. Oh, you made like a bet or something. I understand. I don't know what you're talking about, Orlov. I only tell the truth here. He was right. Oh. Wait, that... I suppose... If he doesn't show up for like another 10 minutes, I'm just gonna stop stream and then reset it to play Graces. Not that I have any idea what I'm doing in Graces, but it's better than sitting around staring at words. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. Luminario is such a good game. So how's chat doing? I had a somewhat tiring day today. Oh, cool, Death's Head is here. Lovely. Lovely, we can begin. Alright, also, hi Cass, thanks for the sub, even though I've streamed like nothing in the past month. Okay, Alright, are you good to start? I'm just gonna start. Cold panic washed over Lurk as she hurried through the trees. Above her, the first purpling of dawn could be glimpsed between the boughs, and there seemed little hope she could reach home before sunrise. And for all the extra distance Lurk had walked that night, she had hardly collected any more acorns than usual. Stupid, reckless, Lurk muttered through gritted teeth, panting as she tried to walk quickly without tiring herself. As the dawn neared, the light brought in the tree trunks around her into stark relief, her stomach roiling in panic, for most of them bore the unmistakable shape of a person, men and women carved from bark, their arms lifted up into branches while their feet spread into roots. And that's going to be me. As the stars winked out above, Lurk began to run, barely caring about her bag full of stupid acorns anymore. She hopped over the twin creeks, running around the meditating woman willow tree, the serenity of this one's expression always putting Lurk on edge. Past her was a narrow gully topped by two men, their branches forming an arch overhead as they silently looked upon one another for eternity. Then she came to the triple boulders, each 10 times the height of a person, which they had named the Grey Mountains for some reason. I might make it, Lurk thought, glancing at her arms to keep herself moving. Her milky white flesh with veins of green was mottled with bark brown patches, while her black tresses of hair had turned a mossy green like all who had seen the sun. As ever, she fought against the thought that the brown on her skin was lovely. That's the curse talking, the one upon all of us. With all her might, she concentrated on the horror of turning into a tree. I'll earn a few more patches today, but if I keep running, I'll be home before the madness sets in. Images of Verkt and Gossamer returning home almost completely brown and then fighting their way to the surface flashed through her mind, their raving words echoing through the tunnels of their home. I won't be like them. I won't. It takes days of sunlight to drive one that far, and I've only been beneath that glare a few hours over my life. And then the last of the night faded away, the sky turning blue as that dreaded brightness filled the world around her. Lurk edged around the last few trunks, the gully leading to their home coming into view, when she felt the warmth on her back and knew that a sunbeam had struck her. Her breath caught as the warmth spread through her like a soothing balm. Lurk's head swam as her terror fought with the pleasant tingling on her skin and rush of energy. For a moment, she swayed there, feeling the urge to linger on in the forest and embrace the sun. And then there was a shout from the gully, the voice of Ogier urging her those last few steps down into the gully and then the mouth of the tunnel where the cursed children lived. Lurk paused just inside, taking a shuddering breath as she centered herself. Then she cast a weary eye back at the bright arch of light shining in through the entrance. That alluring warmth came over Lurk once more, her fingers fretting with her dress woven from grass as though to fling it from her body and march into the light to find a place to take root. She shook then, poised on the precipice, her fears ebbing away. And then a hand landed on her shoulder, gripping her firmly. She turned, finding herself face to face with Ogier. Like her, his skin was milky pale and patched with brown, his green veins snaking underneath like vines, while his close-cropped hair resembled moss. And Ogier was handsome, his eyes bright brown and chin strong. And he was worried, his lips curling into a frown. His voice wavered as he asked, "Lurk, what are you doing? You haven't been out." "I'm fine," Lurk said, pushing his hand away. "I had to go farther to get acorns and you got the urge to explore and wandered too far," Ogier said fiercely, reaching out again. "Come on, we have to get out of the light." "I know," Lurk murmured, waving his hand off once more and casting her gaze back at the light. I felt the urge, the wonderful warmth, and That's the curse, you know that, Auge snapped. Even so, it does feel wonderful to stand in the light. There was a moment's pause. Then Auge sighed, his shoulders drooping. It does. But it's dangerous, Lurk said, standing firmer. With that, the two marched down the tunnel, leaving the sun behind as they walked deeper into the warren of shadowy tunnels they called home. The lovely air smelled of soil and nuts and a whiff of soot as Auge walked by touch and memory down the tunnel, his fingers tracing along the undulating walls of wood and root and the ground itself. For 18 long seasons, the entirety of his waking life, Auge had lived in a maze of tunnels underground with his fellow cursed children. He knew them like he knew his own body, letting him walk from one chamber to the next without any need for light. And so he and Lurk moved confidently through utter darkness to the main chamber of their home. Here, a large room shaped like a peanut opened up, the roof supported, ironically, by the roots of several trees which had sprung from their unfortunate forebearers. Each oval lobe had a little fireplace, the unseen chimneys rising up through the soil to the ground above, where stick roofs kept the rain from falling on their fires or the sunlight from entering during the day. Though it's best not to take chances, Auge thought, watching with approval as the youngest members of their little family, Algo and Yessie, banked the coals from the old fires and covered the hearths with planks of wood. The only light then came from oil lamps in wall niches, the thin glow illuminating those working in the room. Sedig crushed acorns with a pestle and poured the flour through water to cleanse it. Wilnick and Fela wove grass fibers they had gathered into rough cloth. Nearby Warnus wove thicker sticks into baskets, while Taggett molded clay into vessels to be fired that night when their hearts were again filled with flame. Auge let out a yawn, stretching as he strolled through the cave, giving the others around him encouraging words and nods as he made his way to the supper table. It had been an exhausting night for him, and he needed a good meal and a long day's rest. That's cute. I like that. I like that phrasing. So he settled down on the cushion, putting his hands on the knee-high table, and waited for the others to gather and serve the meal, glad that it wasn't his turn. Quick as a flash, Algo and Yessie began to bring in the acorn bread which had been cooking all the long night in wall ovens over the hearths, while Taggett dipped into their collected mushrooms. Soon, a fine meal was assembled on the table as the cursed children gathered around. Though Alfund the Taveler, the man who had rescued the original band of children from the sun, was before his time, as Elder Auge led their daily thanks for the man. The children murmured kind words to that long-deceased stranger, several growing teary-eyed as they imagined the fear and panic those first 6 must have felt. And they're all gone now. I wasn't sure if that was like a lore thing, so... But yeah, okay, it was Traveler. Okay. Anyway, and they're all gone now, Auge thought bitterly. Turned into trees unless one somehow made it to a place where sunbeams never reach or managed to break the curse. Auge was chewing on his last bite, contemplating the fate awaiting them all, when there was a moan from the corridor. All eyes turned there, a few rising from their cushions. Who could that be? Auge rose as well, calmly and carefully taking a lamp down from a wall niche as he walked toward the noise. Out of the entrance tunnel appeared a figure, that of a naked child bathed in shadow. Slowly the shadows faded away, revealing that he was one of them, the curse obvious on his skin, while his face and body shape revealed him to be a boy. That his hair was completely black and his pale skin showed only the first hints of brown patches, meant that he had only recently come into the full power of the sun curse. He looked at Auge, hunching down and backing away, his eyes filled with that fright and confusion and longing that all of the cursed children knew well. Auge adopted his softest voice. offering a hand as he said, "It's all right. You're amongst friends here." "Friends?" the boy whispered, pausing his retreat. What voice should Algae have? That's right. No, that's too much like Lurk. Okay, let's see. Let's consider... Nebbish. What's a Nebbish? Okay, hold on. On the basis that Algae starts with the letter A, let's make her as Anise-like as I can remember how to do. That's right. You've been, Algae said, standing up beside Oge. You've been wandering, lost and confused for a season, haven't you? We've all suffered that, Lurk said, peeking her head over Oge's shoulder. None of us know where we came from or why we're cursed, but we all found our way here. To friends. Friends, the boy said, rising from his crouch to stand, rising to Oge's waist. He took a breath, blinking as he glanced back over his shoulder. Why light make me hurt? Young ones like you shy away from the light, Oge replied. It's painful for the first 10 or so seasons, then it becomes irresistible. I do not understand, the boy said, shaking his head. His eyes were growing brighter already as he picked up the language and notions which wild children lacked. Cannot resist the hurting of the light? He's too young to understand, Lurk whispered, stepping around Oge and offering the boy her hand. Listen to me. There are things you need to know, things only we can teach you, if you let us. The boy fell silent for a moment, shuffling his feet. He cast one last glance back at the tunnel towards the light. Then he took Lurk's hand, his face lighting up at her touch. She gave him a gentle tug, bringing him to her as she said, I'll stay up, get our newest little brother clothed and fed and acquainted with everything. You sure you can handle that on your own? Oge asked. I'll be fine, Lurk said firmly. Be careful. I'm not going to wander off into the light. Lurk sighed, shooting Oge an exasperated glance. She took 2 steps, paused, then glanced back at him, saying, Really, I will be fine. I've a boost of energy and nothing more. Oge nodded, though he felt his heart beating rapidly. Several things came to mind, such as, that's exactly what Georgie and Felna said 3 seasons ago, and we found them that night, rooted on the pond shore and still forever. Or, I think I should stay up too, give him a boy's perspective on things. Yet he left both unsaid, for he was tired and in need of rest. And besides, I have to trust her, don't I? Otherwise, what kind of man would I be? He nodded to himself, saying, Go on then, I'll sort out the next one who comes. With that, the 2 walked their separate ways, Lurk taking the new boy to the cloth room for his first clothes, while Oge and the others made their way down a short tunnel, through the den of a she-wolf and her pups, to their sleeping chambers. Here in utter darkness, Oge lay with the others, whispering one last thanks to the traveler Alfun, who had found their first brothers and sisters all those seasons before, saving them from turning into trees. Lurk hummed a little tune to herself, as she stretched and draped pieces of grass cloth over the new boy, roughing out where she would need to make cuts and sew it together for a proper outfit. The boy himself looked at her curiously, his eyes wandering over their cave home. Who are you? He asked at last. I am Lurk, second oldest of us. Who are us? We are the cursed children of the forest. Lurk replied. Why are we cursed? No one knows, Lurk replied, though Alphen the Traveler thought that there was likely a witch involved, that one may have contaminated water with an experiment which we drank, or if not that, then some community angered a forest deity who cursed our parents to have their children replace the trees they cut down. Okay, can you hear that? I'm going to pause while the garage door finishes opening. Oh, and I'll need to pause when it finishes closing too. So that's fun. My dad has work meetings on Tuesday evenings, and apparently this one went on for a while. Well, I can hear things, and I would rather not. So I will wait a little bit for it to close. Yeah, and so we can, I guess we can consider the story as a whole so far. Yeah, it's very interesting. And we are approximately 10% of the way through. Okay. That's decent. Dad, can you please press the button now? Nah. Or maybe he already did it just immediately after entering. That's possible. I think we're fine, actually. I'll just keep going. Is that who the green lady is? The what? Lurk asked, pausing as she reached for a bone needle and thread. The green lady, the boy said, cocking his head. I saw her during the night. She was shiny and smelled like sap, and her body was made of leaves, and she rustled when she moved, and her eyes were black pits. Are you sure it was not a nightmare? Lurk asked. Yes, I'm sure, the boy said insistently. He turned his arm over, showing a break in the brown striations on his skin. A hand-shaped pale spot with extra green veins just underneath. She touched me here, and it felt so strange. I see, Lurk murmured, her body trembling. Could this be the witch who cursed us? She looked too pretty to be a witch. Oh, there we are. There it is. There's the garage door closing. I'll drink some water. Yay, water drinked. She looked too pretty to be a witch, the boy replied. Then he screwed up his face, frowning as he said, Why would I think that? I can't say for sure, Lurk replied. Perhaps memories from before the curse took hold of you resurfacing. That's what a few of the older children assumed when odd notions and ideas came unbidden to mind. That makes sense, the boy murmured, rubbing his head. Barb, you're so right. Freaking Magilou? Magilou. Too much sense, Lurk said, resuming the task of making him clothes. Now, we've talked all this time, and I still don't know your name. What is it? Iben, he said, blinking. Wait, I'd never thought of that sound before now. That's how it was for me and all the others, Lurk chuckled, pinning the pieces of fabric in place as she prepared to sew. The curse does many things, but it does not take our names. Iben, he repeated, a toothy grin curling his lips. I like the sound of that. One always does, Lurk giggled, at last beginning to sew. She had 3 entire stitches done when her hand paused, an odd notion coming to her. If I stitch him in this, then his trunk will have to press against the fabric. She blinked, pushing the thought away to continue her needlework. Another thought came then, distressing in a different way. What can you tell me of this green lady? I feel like Lurk, I feel like the madness might be starting to take hold of Lurk. Well, she was green and leaf-like, and she followed me at a distance, Ivan replied, squeezing his eyes shut as though trying to remember details. I think she tried to speak to me, but her words sounded so strange. I had to run away from her. You did the right thing, Lurk said, putting the finishing touches on his tunic. And now you're home, clothed, and amongst friends. Now what? Ivan asked, looking around expectantly. Now you would go to the bedchambers to sleep for the day, Lurk replied. But I assume that you've got quite a lot of energy from being out in the daylight, don't you? I'm not tired, if that's what you mean. Me either. Lurk reached out and took his hand, saying, How about I show you around your new home? I'd like that, yes, Ivan said, excitedly. With a laugh, Lurk took his hand, leading him through the main chamber, pointing out their dining table in one oval room, and the sitting logs in the other, where they did their chores, making everything they needed to survive. Cleaning things, sewing, soap and oil making, the potting wheel, the knives for carving food and chopping firewood. These last two perked up Ivan's ears, a frown creasing his lips as he asked, We burn our fellow tree people? No, only fallen branches, Lurk said quickly, and sometimes wood from trees which are only trees. There are a lot of them if you know where to look. She took a lamp from the wall then, gesturing down the tunnels. This way. I'll show you the sleeping quarters, the grotto, the wolf's lair, and Alfun's shrine. Wolf lair? Ivan asked. There are wolves down here? Oh, yes, Lurk replied, hunching over as they walked down the tunnel and around a corner to the nest of the she-wolf. Okay, hold on. What is it with... Okay, so... Clearly I should have made Algie Arietta instead. She could say, you killed mommy, now die. Everyone's favorite line of dialogue from everyone's favorite video game, right? Why was Abyss like this? Anyway. The floor was covered in old leaves and discarded grass stems, forming a bed against one wall. Upon this lay a gray and brown shape, the wolf relaxing for the day. She's very friendly and keeps out the nasty squirrels and chipmunks and moles and other beasts from getting into our sleeping quarters. The she-wolf looked up then, watching them with a neutral gaze as they walked by. A close glance revealed her puppies snoozing against her belly. Puppies, yay! Once they were in the next tunnel, Lurk snickered, saying, You see, she's our best friend. You'll probably see her or her mate entering and leaving through the main room around the time we awaken or hit the hay. Then she wakes with us and then sleeps with us, Ivan said, laughing. Yes, but shh, Lurk said, putting her finger to her lips as they crept up to the sleeping quarters. She pointed then to the little rooms carved from the soil. Each one held twin sleeping cuppies, one atop another, where they would settle down for sleep on beds of old leaves and woven grass blankets. Some were empty, though most held their fellows, sleeping soundly in their little burrows. Once past the sleeping burrows, they arrived at a four-way junction. Down one tunnel were a few storerooms. The straight way led to the grotto. Lurk, however, led Ivan down the third tunnel. Here the soil and roots and wooden support beams gave way to stone as they entered a little crypt. In truth, it was a square chamber of stone from some long-forgotten ruin, with every stone loose and out of alignment, no wall straight any longer. Yet to Lurk and the others it was a holy place, a tremor coming over her as she approached the pile of stones shaped like a bread loaf in the center of the room. Brutal. absolutely brutal, describing their shrine as a bread loaf. She fell to her knees as she whispered, "This is the final resting place of Alfred the Traveler, the one who found and rescued that first band of us so many seasons ago." "How did he die?" Ivan asked. "He was so old, so many seasons it makes the mind feel dizzy," Lurk replied, putting her hand on the pile of stones. "And he could not tear himself away from us, not until he had taught us how to survive. Legends say that he was a funny man, humble, who told that he had been a failure in the realms of man and thought himself worthless." Lurk sniffed. "But in the end, he had so much to teach those first children that he did not survive the whole telling." "He sounds like an incredible man," Ivan said, kneeling beside Lurk and putting his hand there too. "What happened to those children?" "The last of them was still here when I arrived as a little girl," Lurk replied, "but all of them succumbed to the curse over the seasons." "Is that our fate? To become trees?" "I don't believe it is inevitable," Lurk said, a note of fierceness in her voice. "The curse is strong, but they can be broken. There are a few storybooks about curses being broken which are fouler than ours." Books? "Oh, goodness," Lurk said, slapping her head. "You wouldn't know how to read, would you?" "What's reading?" "It's how we'll spend the rest of the day, you and I," Lurk replied. "I'll teach you the tales and the letters until we're both sleepy again." "That sounds like fun," Ivan said happily. "It's wonderful," Lurk replied, the two rising from their knees. "You'll learn to see the world in a whole new way and be able to hear the voices of your forebearers." Laying it on a little thick here, buddy. Just a little bit. She took his hand, leading the boy back down the winding tunnels to the front room. At the dining table, she began spreading out writing supplies, from a jar of ink to brownish bark paper they had made, preparing to give Ivan a lesson he would not soon forget. Yet, as she taught him his letters, her mind turned then to the green lady he had mentioned, the notion that a witch was stalking them now taking root in her mind, and try as she might, the unease she felt could not be so easily dismissed. Yeah, not the only thing taking root in your mind. All was dark when Auge awoke, the scent of damp soil and odor of decaying wood filling the black air before him. He spent a short while in that place between wakefulness and sleep, thinking over his dreams of traveling to the edge of the woods and at last returning to the world beyond their woodland home. Maybe we could make our way slowly towards civilization, Auge thought. Go as far as we are able through the night and dig out a new resting place. Then repeat that over and over until we reach the edge of the forest. It was an idea he had toyed with dozens of times over the seasons, though he always wound up dismissing the notion. We are too few and would risk letting other chores go undone, and we will all linger there too long to make up for lost time and be caught in the sunlight far from any place of refuge. The sounds of the others awakening around him at last spurred Auge to rise and begin another night. He walked by the others' bunks, calling them to action as he walked through the dark. Behind him, the youngsters spilled out into the corridor, some grumbling morosely, others talking excitedly. In darkness, Auge led them down the winding tunnels to the main room, walking through the wolf's lair on the way. He could sense that the she-wolf had gone out for a hunt, leaving her puppies behind in the bedding. The main chamber, too, was nearly totally dark, yet Auge heard the rhythmic breathing of two people inside, sending a stab of relief through him. He stood there and waited as Algo and Yessi raced past him to the banked coals, carefully placing them back into the hearths and rekindling their fires for the night. Warm yellow light filled the chamber with a wave of warmth, illuminating Lurk and Ivan laying asleep on the table. The two had been practicing letters, with several of their painstakingly crafted storybooks laying on the table. Alright, Sedig. That's just how writing is. You're fine. But okay, Sedig. Who would Sedig be? Can't think of anyone whose name starts with S besides me. Sophie? Nah, Sophie is just Sophie. Like no one else can be Sophie. Stupid lurk, Sedig muttered, walking up to her and sliding their handmade copy of the Blue Rose from under her head. You shouldn't use books as a pillow. Shouldn't what? Lurk muttered, her eyes briefly fluttering open, only to close again without really seeing anything. It's fine, Uge said. No harm was done. She might have drooled on it, Sedig said, placing the book down and petting it lovingly. I put a lot of work into making and fixing these up. Okay, tag it. And we all appreciate that, little Taggett said. But you don't need to be a jerk about it. Don't you have mushrooms to go find? Sedig said quietly. What was that about you not being a jerk? Uge said, crossing his arms. Oh, come on, Sedig sighed, throwing up his hands. Alright, Wilnick can be... Who can Wilnick be? Wilnick. Why is coming up with voices so difficult? Okay, how about Wilnick is Sharia? You come on, Wilnick said, pausing partway through getting the weaving rack set up. We all have to get along. Quite right, Sedig said, glancing at Lurk. And since she doesn't seem like she'll be gathering acorns tonight, I'll go and gather them myself. Fela. Fela can be Natalia. I'll come along too, Fela said quickly. I saw some near a good grass patch. We should be able to get enough to start storing them again. Great, and then the squirrels will get at them, Sedig said, shaking his head. Just like 2 seasons ago. Arietta, you killed Mommy. Not with our wolf friend they won't, Algie said knowingly. I wish I had played Luminaria. I wish I had watched the Luminaria VODs recently, so I would know what Yelsie's voice is. Let's see. What was Yelsie's voice? It's like approximately Pascal. I'll just do Pascal. Which is... and better the squirrels eating the acorns. And better the squirrels eating the acorns than us, Yessie said, rubbing the bite scars on her cheek. Much better. Who was Taggett again? Oh yeah, Taggett was like a nerd. Or wasn't, but is now a nerd. Not to be rude. No, wait, no, Sedig is the nerd. Whatever. Not to be rude, Taggett began, but if you'd fallen asleep in your bed instead of the entrance hallway, that wouldn't have happened. Enough of this, Age said, clapping his hands together. I was tag as a kid, but there are too many kids. So I had to we have to make changes on the fly. It's fine. We all have things we need to do. Let's do them. With that, the children got to work, each performing a role in keeping them alive. After rubbing Lurk's hair and thanking the traveler that she had not wandered away, Age joined them, taking up 2 acorn sacks to join the gatherers leaving for a long night of foraging. He walked with them through the winding tunnel to the gully, taking a deep breath of the crisp night air. Above them loomed several trees of those who had gone before, their still, bark faces silenced forever. For a moment, Age could almost hear their whispering, as though those who had suffered the final stage of the curse might still be alive, watching them. Indeed, the ghostly whispers seemed sharper and clearer than before, giving Age pause. He exchanged a glance with Sedig, the other boy appearing uneasy. Before anyone could speak, though, there was a crunch of leaves above the gully, a terrified cry rising from the younger children. And then the she-wolf appeared, hauling a deer carcass back to her bedding. She looked at them expectantly, wagging her tail, oh doggy. All at once, the tension evaporated, Age and the others all going their separate ways in search of acorns and grass and other essentials. Soon, Age was alone, his only company the crunching of the leaves under his feet, the hoot of an owl, and the silent faces of the other cursed. Once more the murmur seemed to sound in his ears, rising almost high enough to pick out their words. But Age ignored them, and soon the sound lapsed into nothing, leaving him alone. Before long, the cursed trees grew less numerous, Age following an old, well-worn trail to where smooth-trunked oak trees could be found. Before long, he came to the first acorn, and then another, picking them up one by one into his bags. Time ticked by slowly, Age humming to himself as his bags began to fill. Before long, his feet took him into a lane lined with oak trees, as though they had been grown in straight rows for nearly 30 paces, and at the far end was nothing less than the tangled vines of a blackberry bush in full bloom. And that means blackberries won't be long in coming, Age thought, licking his lips as he imagined slathering berry preserves all over their bread. Heartened, he made a note of where it was and then moved on with his real mission. The thin crescent moon moved from one side of the sky towards the other, the stars twinkling overhead. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Death's Head, do you know how the moon works? The crescent moon is only barely out at night. Pretty much a full moon is out more or less the entire time the sun is not out. A new moon is out pretty much the entire time the sun is out. And in between, like, the closer it is to one of those extremes, the more time it's out while during the night, basically. So, all right, let's see. The large gibbous moon moved from one side of the sky towards the other, the stars twinkling overhead. Once his bags were mostly full, Age began following a meandering stream, listening to the gentle wash of the water. More than a few of the trees along the course were cursed ones, the river a soothing spot to allow the curse to take its course. And one day that'll be me. Age shivered at the thought, trying to tell himself that the curse might be broken. But I know it's not true. 80 seasons or more we've suffered, with no sign of any way to break the curse. Yeah, no, this isn't to judge you. I care about the moon a lot. Age came to a stop, putting his hand against one of the cursed trees. Did it hurt? Does it still hurt now? The calm, still face looked back at him, unable to answer. Auge thinking it unlikely that the poor soul therein had heard his words at all. A gentle voice echoed through the night then, a light and melodious one, singing as though from a great distance. Auge jumped back, startled, as he looked at the tree for any sign of how the victim might be singing. Yet he soon realized that the sound was coming from a great distance. Enchanted, Auge picked up his pace down the river, the voice growing nearer with each passing step. The haunting melody made his heart ache, as though he had wanted to hear this tune all his life. And then he turned the last bend and stepped between two hillocks, arriving at the small lake where the river drained. There on the far shore was the singer, a bewitching figure of all but unsurpassed beauty. So Velvet. She was a woman whose... Okay, so not Velvet. She was a woman whose body seemed to be made of glistening leaves, shining a dark green which was but black in the night. A deep desire to go to her welled up inside of him. Yet when he moved to step into the water, he felt the heft of the acorn bag, kindling in him a sense of duty, that he needed to return home with the food. Yet this only kept Auge rooted in place, unwilling to go forward, but unable to tear himself from the majestic singing. Whether a minute or an hour passed while Auge stood, enraptured by the strange creature's song, would never be known. All he knew for certain was that at some point in her performance there was movement behind her, and then Sedig appeared like a ghost from the trees. Auge watched as Sedig approached the woman, a serene expression on his face as he dropped his bag and reached towards her. The strange leaf woman took him in her arms, dancing with him as she sang. And as she sang, his already large brown skin blotches grew larger and larger. A shiver of cold horror washed over Auge as he cried out, "Sedig! Sedig, run!" There was a flicker of awareness from his eyes, his serene reverie breaking momentarily with a frown. He glanced one last time at Auge. Then his smile returned as he shrugged out of his tunic. And then he walked to the lakeshore, an expectant smile coming to his lips as he glanced at the leaf woman. She brushed her hands over Sedig's body as he reached his arms for the sky. The last pale spots of his skin faded into brown, a creaking noise like bending wood echoing through the night. And then Sedig took root, his feet distorting as his toes spread into the ground, his face freezing in place as his fingers grew into branches, sprouting leaves all along his arms. With a final click, the noise faded, leaving Sedig frozen for all time as a tree. For several moments, the leafy woman walked around him, caressing his body with her fingers, a look of satisfied pride on her face. Slowly, she turned her gaze upon Auge, holding out her hand as she began her song anew. Yet this time, Auge had only to look into the blank eyes of Sedig to break her spell. With a muffled cry, he turned and fled from the lake and the woman and from what was left of his old friend, a boy he had known most of his days and, despite their differences, had always appreciated as a friend. I know, he had such a fun voice too. This is so sad. And now he's gone like all the others, Auge cried to himself as he ran back up the river of death through the others who had gone before, knowing now the horrible truth. We can be claimed by the curse even in the safety of the dark. I'm gonna refill my water. Listen to good Luminaria music. And perfect timing, I'm back right as the song ends. Okay, wait, I think I could have done that section better, is just writing .txt. You know, like, that's just how it is. I liked it. It's good. And yeah, I mean, no super specific thoughts. Let's keep reading. An awful pall hung over the main chamber as the truth rippled through the children. Auge sat in a dark corner, muttering to himself as he wrung his hands, while Algo nearly singed his shaking hands. For her part, Lurk sat at the table as she had most of the night, and cursed herself for not awakening in time to warn the others of the strange green woman Ivan had seen. If only I had come awake, maybe Sedig would still be with us. Lurk looked over the others with a mournful eye, counting heads one last time. Though no one else had been taken, this came as cold comfort, for no one believed that Sedig would be the only victim of the green woman. She absently petted the she-wolf's mate as he brushed by the table, trying to think of something besides their impending doom. We'll need to leave here in groups from now on, Yessie said at last. 2 or 3 at least, that way we'll... Who was Wilnick? Wilnick can be Sedig too. Because I like that voice, and I don't remember Wilnick's old voice. Feed more of us to the green woman at a time. Wilnick snapped, rocking on the floor, his legs clutched to his chest. Warnus, you're new. We have to do something, Warnus said, snapping a twig in two and casting the pieces into the fire. I won't quietly give up and turn into a tree. This is my fault, Auge muttered, looking to the door. If you had done anything, you'd be a tree too, and you know it, Lurk said, scratching the male wolf's ears. No, this is my fault for not telling everyone about the Green Lady. I could have said something too, Ivan said from the other end of the table, his eyes downcast. I never knew she was special or anything. I don't mean you, like, was not named before. I mean you, like, didn't talk before. That I remember. It could have happened. My short-term memory while streaming has never been very good. Anyway. I could have said something too, Ivan said from the other end of the table, his eyes downcast. I never knew she was special or anything. I just thought she was part of the forest. Taggett was... Was Taggett... Who was Taggett? Was Taggett? Okay, Taggett can be the smart aleck. That's fine. Well, you thought wrong, Taggett muttered, shooting him a dirty look. Then he buried his face in his hands, weeping as he said, and I thought nothing of Sedig walking off on his own with that enraptured look on his face and telling me nothing except that he needed to know who was singing. Were you not pulled by the song? Auge asked, letting himself feel a prickle of hope. I didn't even hear any singing, Taggett said, shaking his head miserably. I thought Sedig was making an excuse to go somewhere by himself, and he was, but not like I thought. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing with these voices. It's fine. If you didn't hear the singing, maybe she can't mesmerize all of us, Lurk said. Yes, that's what I was thinking, Auge said, tapping his hands together. But how can we tell until it's too late? Yessie asked miserably. We'll all go out together, Lurk said, and we'll bring weapons and rope to keep anyone from wandering off. For all you know, that'll get all of us turned into trees, Wilnick muttered. That's always been our curse, Ugye said, nodding. But for the first time, we've a clue of where that awful fate comes from. That green woman may be the one who cursed us, and that means she's the one who might lift it. Then we go out in force, Lurk said, tapping the table. All of us stay together, and at the first hint of song, we gather all of us, let none wander alone, and chase down this witch. A quiet stillness fell over the cave as the children all looked at one another. Though many seemed nervous, Taggart even trembling with fear, no one spoke a word against the plan. Not until Ivan, their newest member, added his own idea. And if we can endure their song, we should trap her in a net or with ropes or something. Yes, and make her talk, Ugye agreed, grinding his teeth together. Quietly, so low that only Lurk could hear, he added, and make her pay for what she did to Sedig, and who knows how many more of our old friends. There was a tightness in Lurk's chest at the notion that this mysterious woman might be behind all their woes. Yet a part of her knew this was wrong, sensing that the Green Lady was only one part of their curse. But that doesn't mean anything he said was wrong. We have to defeat her and find out all she knows, or we're all doomed and all our knowledge will become so many leaves blowing in the wind. This, more than her own inevitable fate, rattled Lurk to her core. The notion that everything they knew would be lost, and generations of further cursed children would wander the woods in fear and ignorance until the Green Lady put them out of their misery, never to know anything more of the world. That was a long sentence. That's a sentence that deserves a water. A fell wind whispered through the leaves overhead as Ugye emerged from the tunnel carrying a burning torch. He moved slowly out of the gully, listening hard for any hint of singing as he waved the burning bundle of sticks to and fro. Buddy, you're in a, wait, what? Oh no. That's true, Orlov. Is it? It works. It's not bad. It's just difficult to say. He moved, okay. Behind him, the others emerged from the warren, armed with sticks. What? Orlov, you spelled it right the first time. Behind him, the others emerged from the warren, armed with sticks and ropes and other makeshift weapons. They were 9 in all, none wishing to be left alone lest the Green Lady find them in the tunnels. Once all were assembled, Ugye began to march, the others following behind him. The crackle of the torch and the crunch of leaves and whispers of the others were the only sounds he could hear. Ahead, the harsh torchlight flickered off the faces of those who had gone before, the shadows warping their features into monstrous masks. The night wore on around them as they scaled the Grey Mountains and descended into the long valley on the other side. For half the night time, fervor alone kept them moving, the desire to live and find the one who had so wronged them. At long last, the curse was not some immutable fact about themselves, but had a cause, a figure who had placed it upon them and might well hold the secrets of lifting the death sentence upon them. Despite all of their preparations, there was a great gasp of shock which echoed through their ranks when they crested a small hillock and came within sight of the green woman. Her body glistened wetly in the light as she turned to them, a single note of sweet music rising from her lips as her fingers trailed over the bark face of a young man taken years before by the curse. And then the children let out a scream and charged like an army from one of their old storybooks. A genuine look of shock came to the green woman's face as her lips closed. And then she turned and ran from them, loping up the next slope like a deer and vanishing from sight. "Get her!" Agye cried as they charged up after her. Yet, upon reaching the top of the hill, there was no sign of Fa. Oh. Just... No. Stop it. Go green. No. Go green. Don't be stuck at 0. That's not... No. Green. Become green, not red. Green. No. You're still red. Stop being red. Become green. Why is this so difficult? Why is international telecommunication so difficult? Oh, it might be recovering. Well, the number has gone up. It's still red, but I think that's just sending all the old stuff. So it might become no longer red. It's green. Okay. We might be back. We might be back. Chat, confirm. Confirm, are we back? Okay, we're back. Nope, and it's red. You just waited for me to say that, to go red again. Okay, let's... Okay. Clearly the problem was my hubris. So let's not have that anymore. Okay, I will start again from this paragraph. And then the children let out a scream and charged like an army from one of their old storybooks. A genuine look of shock came to the green woman's face as her lips closed. And then she turned and ran from them, loping up the next slope like a deer and vanishing from sight. "Get her!" Algay cried as they charged up after her. Yet, upon reaching the top of the hill, there was no sign of her. The children hurriedly spread out in twos and threes, screaming and crying to drown out any foul music. Yet there was no sign of her, her footsteps leading to a faceless pine tree and vanishing as though she had stepped inside the trunk. For what seemed an eternity, the children hunted her, never venturing far from one another, lest they be isolated and destroyed along with each other? Whatever. As time wore, I read.